Hello everyone, I hope you guys are doing fine and today I'm back with another React Native video. We're going to make a beautiful onboarding flow with Lottie Animations. It will be a fun little project, so let me show you the app. So these are all the onboarding steps and on each step you can see an animated image. These are called the Lottie Animations. I'll show you how you can integrate these with your apps. At the bottom you can see the buttons to toggle between the slides, and once you hit done and onboarding is complete, you will see the home page and user will stay on this home page even if you refresh, or you can let's say we close the application and I restart the server. Again, you will see the home page because it remembers that we have completed the onboarding, and once I hit the reset button, it's going to show the onboarding flow again. And this will stay like this until we complete the onboarding, even if you refresh the app or you close it and reopen it again. Because I'm using an async storage to maintain the state of onboarding, and it only updates when you complete the onboarding or you reset the onboarding flow. You can even skip the onboarding flow and it will take you to the home page. So this is the application that we're going to build in this video. If you find this video helpful, do like the video and subscribe the channel. Now let's start building this application. Okay, so I've already installed an expo project and implemented navigation. This is the main component, and if I open the app navigation file, you will see I've already implemented a home route, and I've set header shown to false. That's why you're not seeing the header, and this is the home screen. Inside this file, you will see a very basic functional component. So now we need to create an onboarding component. So let's create a new file inside screens folder, onboarding screen. Let's create a basic functional component and save it. Now we need to add this to our app navigation. So let's just copy the home screen route and name this onboarding. And we need to import the onboarding screen as well. And we need to set our initial route name to onboarding so that when we reload the application, we will see the onboarding first. Now let's save this and reload the application. Now we're seeing the onboarding screen. So let's move to onboarding and start designing. First of all, we're gonna import the style sheet and let's create our styles. And we can do that by using the create method on style sheet. And here we're gonna define our styles for the container, flex1 and background of white. And now we can give this style to this container. Okay, so inside this container we are going to add an onboarding component, and for that we are going to use a library called React Native Onboarding Swiper. This is a library and this is just a demo of how the onboarding is going to work. So let's just install this library first. Just use this command into your terminal like this. Now first we need to import this library, so let's just copy this import statement into our component. And then this is the example code of how we can use this library. Let's copy the whole code and paste it here. Let's indent it, and this has an pages property which is an array of all the steps that we need to show in the onboarding. So let's remove these three dots, and these are all the pages. We have background color, image, title and subtitle. When I save this, you will see an error because we don't have this image into our assets, but we can use another view inside this. So let's create a view, and we can just show a simple text for now. So let's add a text saying hello world. Okay, now you can see the onboarding, but it's only one page, so we need to create another page. Let's format this first and let's copy this one more time. Now we have two pages in the onboarding and we can slide through them, and at the bottom you can see we have toggle buttons and dot component. Now we need to change the contents of these steps. So first we will have boost productivity and a little description for the boost productivity. Then we're going to have work seamlessly, a little description, and we need to copy this one more time to have a third step, and this will be achieve higher goals and a little description. Now let's save this. Okay, so now we have three slides. One is boost productivity, and if we slide through we have work seamlessly, achieve higher goals, Now we need to give a little padding around these slides, and we can do that by using container styles property, and we can give padding horizontal of 15. Looking good. Now we need to add Lottie animation inside this view because we are not going to show text here. But first let me show you where you can download these Lottie animations. You need to go to lottiefiles.com, and there they have hundreds of animations, and this is the comparison of how Lottie animation is better than GIF. They have animations for almost any situation, so you can explore them and use them according to your need. So these are all the featured animations, and this is the threads icon, this is another one, and this is the day and night toggle. Just click on any animation and this will open a pop-up, and you need to make sure you download the Lottie JSON file. And once you download that, you can use this JSON file to display this animation in your app. I've already downloaded some of these animations into my assets, so if I show you, if I click on assets, you will see I've already added a folder for these animations, and we can use these animations in here. And for that, we're going to use another library to show these animations, and this library is called Lottie React Native. This is used to show the animations inside React Native application. So let's just install this library first. Just copy this command, and inside your terminal paste it here. And if you're using React Native CLI approach, you need to move to iOS folder and run this command as well. I'm using expo, so I'm not going to run this command. Let's see how we can use this library. So just like an image component, it needs a source for the JSON animation file. So let's copy this import statement into our component in here. And let's also copy this line of code and paste it here instead of hello world. Now we can change the animation file path, which is in assets, animations, and the file name is called boost.json. Now when I save this, you won't see anything because it doesn't have a height and width. So let's give it a style using our styles.lottie property, and let's give it a height and width of 300 and height of 400 for now. Okay, so now you can see the animation, and this is how it's going to look. But we need to make it responsive, and for that we're going to use dimensions from React Native. We're going to use the height and width property of the current device. And with the dimensions, we can use the get method to get the height and width of the current window, like this. Now we can use this height and width to style our Lottie animation. Width will be width multiplied by 0.9, and height will be the total width. So now this is going to be responsive for almost all of the devices. So the first slide is complete, and we need to add the animations for other slides as well. So let's just copy this code for all the other slides. Let's copy this whole view and paste it here, and paste it for the third slide as well. And now we need to change the animation for the second to work and third to achieve. Now you can see we have the animations on all the slides work seamlessly and achieve higher goals. At the bottom you can see we have a tick button that will change later. We can have different background colors for all of these slides. As you can see, we have a background color property which is by default white. So let's change the background color for the first slide to light green. Looking good. Now we need to change the second to light yellow. Now let's see. I really like how this color fades in and the previous color fades out. Now let's add a background color for the third slide, which will be purple. Okay, so all of our slides have different colors, and you can see how the color fades in and fades out. I really like this smoothness. Now we need to work on this finish and skip button, so that when we click on this, it needs to move to the home screen, and for that we can use the property on done. Let's pause a function, and we can also give this function to on skip method, and let's create this handle done method. And inside this we're going to use the navigation to move the user to home screen. So let's use our navigation hook. Use navigation. Now let's use the navigate method to move to home screen, and we need to pass the home route. Now let's save this and test this out. Now when I click on this tick icon, we should move to the home screen like this. And this will be the same for the skip button as well. So if I reload the application, move to next slide, and I decide to skip here, this will move to the home screen. Okay, so now let's reload. Now you can customize these toggle buttons as well. You can replace these buttons with your custom buttons. So if I show you the documentation, here we need to search for the done button. Okay, so here you can provide the skip button component, next button, done button, and even the dot component. So let's try to change our done button. So for that we need to move to the done button slide, and we need to change this button, and for that we can use the done button component property, and we need to pass a function that will return a button. So let's create a done button function. This will receive some props, and these props will need to pass to the button. So let's return our button. For that we need to use touchable opacity, and inside this let's add a text view as done, and we need to pass the props here using the spread operator. And now if I save this, you will see the done button. um oh yeah, we need to return this button as well, so make sure you return the button from this function, otherwise it won't show. Okay, so now you can see the done button and it's looking very ugly, so we need to pass some styles. Let's add styles dot done button, and let's give it some padding of 20 pixels. Okay, you can add further styles to these buttons and fully customize them. So let's add a background color of white, border radius from top left corner to 100%, and a border radius from the bottom left, which will be 100% as well. Okay, so now we have a bar at the bottom which is light gray and it's not looking good, and we can hide it using the onboarding component. We can add a property bottom bar highlight, and we need to set it to false so that the bar goes away like this. So the point is that you can fully customize this library using the documentation, but I will leave this part up to you guys. So let me just undo these changes, and we will have a normal done button. I'll leave the link of this library into the video description so you can customize this onboarding on your own, just like how I showed you. So now we need to work on our home screen. So let's reload, and we need to move to home screen file. So let's go to home screen. Okay, so first we need to use our style sheet. Let's create our styles object. Style sheet dot create, and let's add styles for our container flex1, align items center. Now let's add our container styles to our safe area view. Now we need to have another view for our Lottie animation. So let's add a view and give it a style using styles.lottie. And we can use these styles from our onboarding component. So let's just copy the Lottie animation styles from here. Let's copy them here, and we need to have the width of the device as well. So let's copy these styles. We need to copy this line in here, and we need to import the dimensions. Now we need to use the Lottie animation inside this view, and for that we need to import the library. So let's just copy the import statement from here to here, and let's copy the code for the Lottie animation as well, like this. And let's just change the Lottie animation name to confetti, and if I save this, you will see we have a cool confetti animation. Now we need to add a text for the home page. So let's add a text view and give it a style from styles.text, and this will say home page. Let's give it some font size using our width. multiplied by 0.09 so that it will be responsive. Now let's add a margin bottom of 20 as well because we're going to have a button below this home page. So let's add a touchable opacity for the button and add a text view saying reset. This will reset the state of onboarding. So let's add a style for this button. Style start reset button. Okay, so let's specify the styles. Let's give it a background color of light green. This is the hash for this light green color. Now let's add a padding and let's give it a border radius of 10 as well. Okay, now looking good. Now we need to manage the state of our onboarding. So if I reload the application, you will see we are back at our onboarding component. And if I complete the onboarding, and reload the application, you will see we are again back at our onboarding, but we need to make it that if we complete the onboarding it should stay at the home screen, and for that we will use a library called React Native Async Storage. I've already installed this into the project. You can install this using this command. This is very easy to use, so let's create a file to store our async storage methods. Let's create it here, async storage, and I'll just copy all the methods here and explain them briefly. So first we need to import the library, and then we have a method set item which will take a key and the value, and this will store it inside the local storage. Then we have a get item method which will take a key and get the item and return the value. And then we have a remove item which will take the key and remove the value against this key. Now we can use this function inside app navigation to return a different set of navigation based on this state. Now let's create a use effect hook, and inside this we need to call a function, and this function will be check if already onboarded. This will check the state of onboarding. So let's create this function, and this is going to be an async function, and inside this we're going to get the value of onboarded using our get item function. And you can specify any key, but I'll be using onboarded key. So I'll be saving this state against the onboarded key like this. And if we get the onboarded value as 1, that means the onboarding is complete. Otherwise, the onboarding is pending. So let's create a comment. If onboarded is 1, hide the onboarding, otherwise show the onboarding. Now we need to have a state that we can toggle based on this value to show different navigations. So let's add a state for show onboarding. Set show onboarding, and by default this will have a value of null. Now we can use this state inside this function to toggle based on this value. So if the onboarding is 1, that means onboarding is complete. So we need to set the show onboarding to false. Otherwise, set show onboarding to true. And using this value show onboarding, we need to return different set of navigations. So let's create a if statement. If the show onboarding is true, we need to return this navigation. But if the show onboarding is false, we need to return this navigation using initial route as home because user has already onboarded. So as we're using async storage, this is going to take some time to get the value for onboarded, and until that time show onboarding value will be null, and we need to pass nothing if that's null because otherwise it's going to render one of the navigations. So let's create a condition where show onboarding is null, we need to return null. And you're seeing the home page because the home page navigation was already rendered. That's why you're seeing this. So if I reload the application, we will be back at our onboarding component like this. Now we need to work on this toggle buttons. So when we press on this skip button or this done button, we need to set this state onboarded as 1. So let's go to our onboarding component, and when we hit the done or skip, we need to set the value here. So let's use our set item, and we need to set the value for onboarded as 1 like this. Let's save this and reload our application to test this properly. Okay, so next, work seamlessly, next, and done. Now it should have updated this onboarded value as 1, and when I refresh the application you will see we are staying at the home page. And what's happening is when we get this onboarded value, this time it's 1 and we set the show onboarding to false, and because it's false we are rendering this navigation, and that's why we are seeing the home page again and again. And if I refresh you will see home page, and even if I remove the application from recent apps, if I open the app again you will see home page again. Now we need to work on this reset button so that when we press the reset button, it should reset the onboarding state. So let's go to our home screen and we need to add a button to this touchable opacity. On press handle reset, and let's create this button handle reset. And here we're gonna update the onboarded value, but we also gonna use navigation to navigate to onboarding. So let's use our use navigation hook, and this will be async method. First we're gonna use remove item function from our async storage, and we're gonna remove the key onboarded. This will reset the onboarding state, and then we can navigate to onboarding like this. Now let's save this and test this out. So if I press the reset button, we will be back at our onboarding component. And if I refresh the application, we should stay at onboarding. And even if I remove the application and open the application again, we should see the onboarding component again because we have removed the onboarded state. And now what's happening is when we get the onboarded value, because it's not 1, that means that show onboarding will be true. And because show onboarding is true, that means this navigation is being rendered and we're seeing the onboarding. Also the skip button is going to work the same as done button. So if I move to previous slide and hit on skip, this will take us to the home page, and we should stay at the home page because now the onboarded value is set even if we refresh the application. So with this our application is complete. If you still have any questions about anything, you can ask them into the comment section. If you find this video helpful, do like the video and subscribe the channel. I will leave the link of the GitHub repo for this project into the video description so you can check out the code. And this is it for this video. See you in the next video.